Welcome to Stars Podcast, your growth mindset mecca. We are all about self-leadership principles here at Stars Podcast. Our guests come from all over the world with very unique stories of how they hack their way into success. As you'll quickly find out, nothing happens overnight. And as always, enjoy the journey. Hey guys, welcome back. Stars Podcast. This is Ron Jordan, your host, coming out of Rocinante Studios in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. Today, we have a guest coming in from the South. He is from Atlanta, Georgia. He has over 10 years of financial market experience as an analyst. His passions are family, health, progress, collabs, and challenges. He's a co-owner of MSE Ventures, and their guidebook is called Credit Hacks for Everyone. He's a fellow VeeFriend, Sorcerer Scholarship applicant, and now new onset NFT enthusiast and owner of Dad Joke Database, Jarrod Tafoya. Good to have you on the show.
How are you?
Good, man. Good. So right out of the gate, how you doing today?
Great, man. I just finished working, so I got this crazy schedule. I work UK hours, so I start at 5 a.m. and finish it at 1:30. So now's good time for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're done for the day.
Yes, sir.
So what's that like working like just a different time zone completely?
Yeah, so I started it actually in 2015. So what happens is I log in for the day, I take over for our Singapore group, and then I work with the UK guys, and then I wait for the rest of our US guys to show up. But at first it was an adjustment, but now I've been doing it for like 6 years, and it's like I'm like really kind of scared to go back to a regular schedule because I'm super used to it. Like,
yeah,
it's nice in the sense, so like I work all day long like this, and I get off and I take over for our little one, she's 5 now. And then my wife hops in and does her thing. So it's actually super convenient. And especially with all the COVID stuff, like I've been able to spend a lot of time with the family. It's been really nice.
Yeah, that has been nice. And that's something that I've talked about a couple times when everybody asks me, about COVID and how it affected me. I was really fortunate in terms of my ability to be healthy, and my family was healthy, and we were able to hang out together all the time. And that was drastic change from what I used to be doing, which was I travel all the time. I'm a salesman. So like I travel 3-4 days out of the week. And then this past year, I just didn't have to do that because, well, nobody was open.
Yeah.
So, but enough about me. Let's get back into where you're at. You had sent me over your Sorcerer Scholarship application, and I want to dive into that.
Did you read okay?
Yeah, man, that was fantastic. I mean, when you want to talk about memorable, and that was something that I was trying to go back and forth with on my application as well, was like, what do you put in there to be memorable, but also just be authentic in yourself? And you were able to navigate those waters pretty easily. But in that, you had talked about what success is to you.
Yeah.
And you early on, you had success in sports and things like that in high school. Maybe you can go back to Jarrod in high school and let me know about him real quick.
Yeah. And so it's cool too. So MSE Ventures is something, I'm going to tie this all in for you, but MSE Ventures is something new that we started. So it's me, my wife, and then one of my best friends. And MSE just stands for Make Success Easier. So it's just kind of a slogan, work smarter, not harder kind of thing. So just why not aggregate the tools? Why not collab with people? Why not, just make things easier to set yourself up? I think so often kind of social constructs and things the way that they are, like we just make things harder for no reason. And so that's why success came into my essay. But to take it all the way back, I used to be like avid basketball player. Like that was, and for context, I'm like 6'2". So like it worked out. Like I wasn't like the biggest dude ever, but like big enough that I could play basketball, I could hang. I just worked on it. And, by high school I was dunking and I could shoot. And, I was not good enough to like go play with like the big boys at D1 and stuff like that, but I could hang. But yeah, so it was cool because my uncle would always just rough me up. Like he was bigger than me, like would always rough me up type of thing. And, we get done shooting jumpers and I'm like, okay, well, I'm done. I shot 500 or whatever the number was. And he's like, you're going to go take a break. What are you going to go do? Watch TV or something? Like, somebody's out there getting better than you. And as much as I hated to admit it, he was right. I was like, damn it, I'll do 100 more. that type of thing. And so it kind of stuck with me. And so it helped me be really good. But then, like I say in the essay, that only takes you so far, especially in a team sport. Because, if your team is losing, or, if you're only 500, like, losing is not fun. So, how I measured success from an early age actually ended up being, only so much of what I can do. And then it ended up being the collective team as a whole. Well, if we can get there, then.
That was something that stuck out to me, and something that was a theme within the essay, and just a theme, and you and I have talked before, is you're much more about the collective, the collaboration, than you are about the individual accolades. And that's something that I think that is not so much unique to you. However, it's unique to those who really make a huge impact. And you brought up J. Cole in your essay, is like, if he's winning, what's the point of first class if my boys can't be with me? And I thought that was like,
but yeah.
I was like, wow, you want to bring up, like, something that really just struck me was, individually, you want the first class, you want the big car, you want the big watches and the chains and all that. But at the same time, like, if everybody around you is losing, what the hell's the point?
Yeah. I mean, what fun is that, right? Like, and I think you see that a lot of times with people that hit it really big, whether that's sports or music or whatever it is, like, and then a lot of them end up being like really miserable. And not to say that I'm like the happiest person in the world, I got it all figured out, but like, I think a lot of times they feel alone. And then, and it can come from a number of things, whether it's pressure or just, maybe the feeling of people aren't being as genuine as they should be, but like, it's 100% that way. Like, if I'm not bringing everybody else with me, and let me taper that a little bit too, bringing everybody else with me, but looking to them as much as they look to me. So it's a give and take, because I think it's outside of my wife and my kid, like, I'm 100% for collaborating with people, but I don't want to just pull. I don't want to pull you across, like that type of thing.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be, in the group project, everybody's got to put forward effort to make a collective agreement and a collective project that goes over the finish line together. I totally get down with that. So moving on from like Jarrod in high school, let's like run it through Jarrod in college. So you didn't end up playing. Did you play basketball in college, or did you move on?
Nothing
from
more than like intramural. So when I finished college, my two best friends, one moved to Vegas and one moved to Atlanta. And I did my first year of school in Denver. And then I was like, well, it's time for me to go too. And it was really a kind of a process of elimination. I figured if I go to Vegas, I'm never going to get anything done. So I came down here to Atlanta with one of my buddies. So I went to undergrad at Georgia State, which is downtown Atlanta. I probably ditched class to play basketball. I can't tell you many times. So like, it was really cool because the Georgia State team, who's the D1 team, like they would just be playing pickup games all the time. So as long as you could hang, like you get on and play pickup with them. And so I got to play with some of those guys a little bit, and I could hang, I mean, like if I wasn't working at the same time, maybe I could have walked on type of thing. But when I moved out, like I was on my own. So like mom was like, love you, support you. You're moving out.
Yeah. So you're working full time while you're going to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same story. Most people do it too. So, but yeah, you sit there and you have your weekend ends up being like Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's when you go to school. So, yeah.
So whenever you're in school, did you go to school for financial analytics? Did you go for business? What was your plan going into college, just from high school into college? And did that change in college?
It definitely did. It definitely did. So I think like, just like everybody else, like I didn't have, well, not everybody else, because my wife knew what she wanted to do. I didn't know exactly. I liked sports. I liked that. So I was like, you know what? Let me do marketing. Maybe I could end up doing law at some point. I could be an agent, or you can work with, any kind of thing like that. And then as I got into it, kind of aimlessly just going into marketing, I took some of the required classes in finance. And it was really easy. I was like, yo, this is like super easy for me. And then I took a derivatives class, which was like options and futures and things like that. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I was like, this is so easy for me. So I ended up taking that, but I had gone so far in marketing that I finished the marketing degree too. So I have both, finished that. Then after I finished there, I was working at a bank. Then I started working for E-Trade, and now I work at the exchange. And so just kind of one led to the other. And
It's funny that you mentioned that it was easy to you, so you just went with it.
yeah,
And but going back to what your uncle would say is like, you know, you seem to be going down like this easier path, but really it's not an easy path at all.
yeah,
Like it takes, I always say that it takes a special type of brain to make that work, like derivatives, futures, numbers, graphs, spreadsheets. Like it's a specific type of mentality, I think, to actually find, I don't know if you find joy out of it, but just to find some sort of enjoyment out of it.
yeah. So I really liked it. And then so like I think I was hit by the mystique of like that a lot of people have when you first find out about like options and stuff, like, oh man, I can get rich. And then I made like the worst thing ever happened to me is I hit it huge on like my first like 3 trades. I was like, oh my God, I'll see y'all at the top. Like I'm done. And then slowly but surely I just lost and lost and lost and lost. And so like you learn right away, like they're expensive lessons. But yeah, with options and stuff like that, it was never like for whatever reason, it just clicked for me. And so it was easy enough to do. It's been easy enough to explain to people. So that's why I was like a licensed broker at one point. Um, but truth be told, so like you said, yeah, I don't know if you like it or not. Like I'm bored. So that's why I started looking out at different things. So then I started like, I mean, along the way between me and then a bunch of other people, I probably started like 5 or 6 different LLCs, some of which are still functioning, some we don't do anymore. I started getting into the social stuff. I was never big into social, like it was just kind of boring to me. And then I started doing that. And then at some point I found some of the Gary Vee content and he just like lays it out for you. And I was like, oh man, he gives you a template and says, here you go do it. And so now I'm starting to take over with a lot of my wife's stuff on the stuff that she doesn't want to do so she can focus on her side of stuff that she really likes. And it just, I think it resonates like, you know, when Gary Vee talks about like our folks and our grandparents and, you know, generations before were very much not able to do a lot of things. Like you had your craft, you did your craft, and that's that. And like, I don't think that's the world at all anymore. And I think you can just get in and, you know, you can taste different things, dive deeper into one, see which ones you're strong at, and then hire out.
And that's the nice part about the internet in general is your ability to have a global community without borders on the internet. You know, you don't, behind the avatar, it could be somebody from anywhere, any
Yeah.
country. I mean, depending on the country and their internet laws or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the ability to download information and then just say, I don't really like that, or I like this, I like that, I like that, and sort of sample.
Mm-hmm.
That's and you seem to be going down that path right now. And it's the same thing that I do too, is like I sample so much to figure out what I like and
Yeah.
what I want to get into. Because, you know, whenever you end up, I don't want to say like you've mastered your trade, but whenever you get good at your trade, it becomes sort of like this passive thing, and you need a new challenge. You always need another challenge. That seems to be early onset for you. You know, basketball was that challenge, then college was that challenge, and then just your career has been that challenge. And now moving past that, you're on to like these passion project type of challenges,
Yeah.
and that's where it starts to get really fun. So now you're in this fun challenge of MSE, make success easier. Can you run me through sort of the process that, like, where did that idea come from?
So, I mean, you know, so you're a dad, right? Like, and what you try to impart to the little ones, and you know, they get frustrated with stuff, and they have to learn their own lessons. And especially mine only being 5, like it's just max frustration all the time with everything with her. Oh, this doesn't work, and I'm like, calm down, calm down. And so it's really just come from a number of things. It's like, you know, take a moment, think about. It's funny. Just a quick side note. So the how I even got into like the Gary Vee content is my good buddy who's a partner with me in MSE. He sent me, it was the Nipsey Hustle and Gary V video from way back. And he was like, yo, this guy, you two seem similar. Like I could see, like, he's like, you should watch this. And then he found it because Nipsey, we're a Nipsey fan. And so I watched it and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, like this and that. And, but, along the lines of everything that he talks about, it's just think about things from the full spectrum. I think a lot of times everybody likes to look at things from a rosy side. And I usually jump to the negative side, like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? And then I build from there. And then we just try to, decision tree it out from there. And it's just kind of at this point, it's kind of a natural thing for me. And so the make success easier is me just trying to help myself, my daughter, my wife, my inner circle, like, yo, let's make decisions. Let's come together. Let's make this happen. And so it's vague in that sense, but it's going to be very much of like, so the first thing that I did is one of the things that people come to me about all the time, and it's just something that I've happened to pick up over the years, is they say, Jarrod, how do I do this with credit? You blah, 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 blah. So like, I'm one of those people, like people just hit me up because I know random things. And so I've helped a bunch of people just improve their credit. And it's just because I know, one, how the rules work, and then two, some of the tech that's come out with it. I was like, yo, let me just put this down and give it out. So I originally put it on Amazon and it's $2.99. I wasn't trying to charge for it, but there's like crazy friction on Amazon. Like I'm going to put it on my site and I'm just going to give it for free. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to generate it as an NFT as well too. So like if somebody wants to hop on and support, I'll probably send you a hat and some swag and a physical copy of the book. But I just feel like, why not give it for free? Because that type of thing will come back. It's just me aggregating resources. I tried to make it super readable. I made it animated in there. Like I worked with a guy from Fiverr to work on the animations. Max, if you read it cover to cover, 30 minutes. But it's really just trying to do all that. And then the second part, it's going to be like a two-part thing. The second one's going to be budgeting. So it's kind of a financial literacy. Since I'm now really into it, I want to do an NFT one, just basics, without getting into like the technical jargon and things like that. And I'm just going to give them all out for free. And kind of my thinking from the MSE side is, as that comes along, like that's, a long-winded roundabout answer to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I say this quite a bit. The people that will be successful in this internet world are the folks who can take and aggregate information and distill it down into digestible content for the layman. Those are the people that are going to have businesses that end up winning, because there is so much information out there that it's like, it can be overwhelming. I think you're one that you listen to what people are doing. I read through it, and it's funny. As ridiculous as it sounds, I love animation, and just having those animations in there gives it a different feel.
Oh, 100. And that's the thing is like, so like you hear credit and you're like, great, sounds great. And I was like, yo, this needs to be lighter than that. Like this is easier. So it very much fits my theme of make success easier. Like it doesn't have to be this dry thing. And
even the colors you use too.
So I was really excited about it. And so it's funny, I'll tell you this real quick. So I finished my MBA in 2016, and I'm really close with one of the professors where I went to the school, which is North Atlanta. And I ran it by him because the guy's like probably the most well-connected dude. Like he knows everybody. He's like, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. I was like, okay, cool. So I run the MSE idea by him, and he's like, well, how do you want me to approach this? You want me to approach it like a VC? Do you want me to approach it as your friend? I said, you know what, however, you shoot me straight. You're not going to hurt my feeling. He said, okay, so monetarily, I go, no, I don't know how you monetize this on a large scale. And I said, well, I'm not terribly concerned with that, but continue. Then the second part is, he says, I'm on a board, right? Like I'm on several boards, and we make financial literacy material, credit specifically. He goes, and yours is better than what we do. And I said, yeah, I don't even need to hear anything else from you. You can tell me I'm the biggest jerk in the world at this point. Like it don't matter to me right now. So stuff that I know. And so I, again, back to the whole thing, like, why not share this with people, right? Like it's easy enough. And a really good example from there, and I don't know if you got into the minutia of it, but like the one really good example, and a lot of people will run into this. So in credit, right? 97% of your payments on time is not a good thing. You need to be 99% plus. So just in a, for instance, basic simple math here. So say you're 97 out of 100. To get to the 99 mark, you're going to have to pay the next 200 on time. Now, if you have like 4 accounts, which is like the average that go on that, it takes something like over 4 years. There's so much tech out there. Like you can add credit building loans. You can basically dilute how many, the amount of time that takes. So basically you can add on stuff that you're already paying, like utilities, your cell phone, and you can add like these credit building loan accounts, which are basically just glorified savings accounts. Add that all on there, and you can get that under under a year.
Yeah, you expedite what would have taken you 4 years, and you're paying bills that you would already pay anyhow, and you do this as a loan, and then it boosts it quickly at that point.
Exactly. So what happens is, again, it just counts as a savings account. And this is new tech that they allow for, like it's legal.
Mm-hmm.
You basically say, okay, I'm going to pay $20 a month. It goes into this account. It counts as a payment, as an installment loan. But all it is just sitting there for you. It's just a savings account. But because of how they structure it, it shows up on your credit report too. So you can do multiple of those, boost your credit back up, because who knows what's going to happen in 4 years? Like, what if you have 2 more missed payments and things like that? Like, so to be able to hack it that way and really just expedite that process. Like, I mean, no, people don't have 4 years to wait on stuff. So it's a mix of those kinds of things. And that's how I look at a lot of things, especially, again, going back to the MSE kind of slogan of it. Why not? We can speed rush this stuff, like where the world is, where the internet is, where tech is, like things like that. Like it's not 1995, it's not 1980. Like,
yeah, because here's the thing: circumstances happen. Divorces happen, loss of jobs happen, but you can quickly recover yourself in terms of like getting another job or getting a new career or whatever. But because you've missed these payments, now all of a sudden you're dinged for 4 years because of a mistake or whatever. But now we have the technology that can be like, hey, just as much as you're nimble and you can jump back up on your feet, so can your credit. And that's really what you're getting to, is you're allowing people to get back up. You're lifting them up quicker with a really unique experience just within that little guidebook that you have that they could do on their own. And you're giving that for free.
Yep. And that's the other thing too, is a lot of people. So there are credit repair services. I'm sure you've all seen it, like, oh, we'll wipe your credit with this and that. And those people will charge $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, like they'll hit you over the head for it. And this is ridiculous, right? People just don't know that a lot of the stuff is available, and it's across so many fields. Like it's.
So do you still get in? Do you do like any DraftKings or anything like that?
Yeah, man. So like I've done DraftKings heavy for like a long time with very mixed results. Like I'm probably like 50-50. So, but it's funny. So like I've got some coding capability. So like I was like trying to algo it out and this and that. And then like I'll go on hot streaks. Like I'll go for a week straight where I win everything. Like I'll play every single sport just because I have it all algoed out. And like even like esports, like League of Legends or like CSGO or baseball or basketball, whatever. And then I'll be great. And then all of a sudden, like it just doesn't work for a week. And so then I'm like, so I stopped putting a lot of time into that, since it's like mixed results, and it's just, now I'm just trying to focus on.
Well, did you see that DraftKings, they had just announced that they're going to have an exchange?
What do you mean?
So they're going to have an exchange on their website for you to cash in your winnings into a crypto coin. I don't know if it's going to be their coin or somebody else's coin that they'll have, but it's going to be for collectibles and all types of different.
Oh, wow.
Gary
Vee got tequilas, huh?
I'm telling you, I've been following that just a little bit. You mentioned Counter-Strike, that CSGO. I just bought the B run of the CSGO trading cards. I didn't even know
that was the thing.
Yeah, so I bought them because the A series sold out in like 12 seconds. So I was like, okay, I wonder what this B series is like. So I snagged them. But they've been on back order. They've had some issues with the printing of the holographics, but they're gonna have some like signed cards in it.
I was gonna say, is it of the actual guys playing, like competing?
Yeah, it's the Epix GG.
So I actually got it. So I had no idea what any of that stuff was pre-pandemic, and then pandemic hit, and there was nothing on TV. So I was like, oh, I'll watch the esports stuff. And so like now I actually know who some of the CS:GO guys are. Like, what's the really good guy from Vitality?
I wish I could tell you. That's the thing. I bought the cards because I knew that the A series sold out. And then I posted it on my Instagram story and I got hit up by a bunch of different people, but like, hey, I didn't know that you were into this. I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah, okay, so it's Zywoo. Zywoo's like the guy, like this French guy. Like they had like billboards of him. But
Yeah.
he's just like one of those. It's like him and one other guy. Simple is their handle they go by. But like
Okay. I'd have to
Zywoo
look.
and Simple are like the guys and that stuff. Like, and you can go look at the rankings and stuff like that. But like, I don't know how much these guys must play these games, but like they're just absolute animals at it. And you know, it's so funny they speak a different language when they start playing this stuff. And you're like, what on earth are they talking about? But you know, you watch it for a little bit and you get it. I don't really game, but
Yeah, I think
it's just interesting because there's a lot of money in it, and like these guys get big contracts, and so there's money there.
there's tons of money in it. And actually today or yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of that Fortnite championship, the kid who won 3.1 mil.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
So they just released his skin on Fortnite. My daughter just bought it. I got the receipt in my email. I was like, what's this? And she goes, oh, that's I'll tell you who it is. It was the kid who won that. I think it was 3 point whatever mil on.
I remember reading the story. He like lives with his grandma or something like that.
Was that it? I don't remember that part.
Yeah,
But they did I was watching it with her yesterday. My daughter, she's big into the Fortnite gaming and she's actually pretty good. She goes on to these tournaments. She wins here and there. But she and I had watched it was a YouTube episode of his run up into the championship and then sort of after the fact. And they did a recap of it all. It was really interesting. He had just started playing.
Jeez. It's so funny because like I wonder what this would like, you know, you take this back like 20 years, 20, 30 years here, like when we were kids and stuff like that, like could I have done this with like Zelda? Like could I have been the guy with Zelda?
Dude, I would have I'll tell you this, I would have been the guy with NHL 94. I couldn't be beat.
I would have got crushed. But so one I would think that would have taken off that everybody would have done was GoldenEye.
Oh yeah. With
everybody
the
was on that.
Yeah, I played GoldenEye quite a bit. My buddies and we would play that on N64 constantly. Yeah. So I was wondering, like, what other games would have popped off? I know that would have probably popped off.
Some Mario Kart.
Gran Turismo probably would have popped off.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's such a high level of like customization on that.
Like Tekken.
Yeah.
Fight, like all those fighting games.
I had kind of stopped playing. What was the one where it was like all the different Nintendo characters? That's a fighting one.
Well, I know they do that Smash Bros now.
Yeah, Smash Bros.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like that would have been like pretty big.
Oh, they do that. They have tournaments on that now.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. My stepson, he was in a Smash Bros tournament. He ended up winning that Smash Bros tournament. He's really good. I'm so bad. I fall off the edge constantly and I can't get myself back up. Atari to that, we're talking, I don't know, 30, 40 years. So you go 30, 40 years from today, that's sort of where you'll be in AR. You know, and you and I have the luxury of seeing that evolution.
Yeah, so I was very much of the same thing. So like I've only been listening to him for maybe like 6 months, 8 months, something like that. Like not that long. But obviously the guy's got a crazy track record. And I just thought like there's no way he goes into this project. Like he cannot risk everything he's ever done and let this thing fail. So I hopped in and I did, you know, I bought 2 cores right at the floor, right near the floor. And then the last day, like it was definitely a FOMO thing setting in. So I ended up like pulling some money out of savings and I bought a very rare. So I bought 3. And now looking back, I'm like, man, I should have just sold all my stocks and everything. Like, oh,
hindsight's 2020 always on this stuff. But
yeah,
I mean, you still got the
like if you would have done it on one of these crappy Avatar ones and you would have gone the same way, you would have been like, oh no, what have I done? So,
yeah, now seeing some of the projects that have just totally flopped on their face, and not really understanding or knowing too much about the NFT world, like that very well could have happened with VeeFriends. So you're a new-ish dad. Part of my project is Dad Joke Database, which is what you purchased to get on the podcast, because part of the unlockable content inside of that NFT is an hour-long podcast here on Stars Podcast. So, what's kind of been the growing experience as far as being a dad and that whole experience from 5 years ago till now?
Patience. So it's funny too. So, my wife talks for a living, whether she's telling people what to do on camera or whether she's the one doing it on camera and being a host. And I always tell everyone, I said, I used to think my wife talked a lot, and then my little girl showed up. So it's just being patient. It's, her in this year and my wife in this year. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's just being patient with them and trying to be more empathetic and just trying to, so my process over the 5 years has definitely been be patient, be more empathetic with where they're coming from, and then just try to help them see the same things that I can see. So like now we're at a point where, at 5, my daughter can process things in a way where I'm like, she's like, well, this isn't fair. This happened. And so instead of me saying, well, blah, 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 being authoritative, I'm like, well, what would you think if X? And let her think about it for a second. I wouldn't like that. So, well, why do you think your friend didn't like that? Oh, okay. And so it's just kind of, improving my communication, trying to, lend perspective,
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me is the improvement in communication, because my daughter, my wife, and everybody that I've interacted with, like females in general want to know the why. I don't know if that's across the board, but like guys, we just sort of go with the flow. We don't really care why. We care about end results, and we don't really much matter like in the middle. I'm starting to get better at understanding that, but man, they always want to understand why and like what's the process and the details. And I don't know if that's the case with you, but that's like something that I've really had to dive in on and communicate way more efficiently and clearly.
I probably hear why like 40 times a day. Yeah, why is this, Dad? Why is that? Give me a break. But no, it's 100%. Like, and so then, but it's cool. Like I said, she's getting old enough now, so I can turn around and go, "Why do you think why?" And she's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." And so, at a certain point, I'm like, "Did you think about your question before you asked it?" And and it's still trying to be nice and dad and this and that, but at the same time, just turn it around.
And any parting words for the listeners here?
Anybody can hit me up anytime, man. I'm happy
where
to
can
talk,
they find you?
To help, especially like with the book. So like I'm redesigning my website right now. It's MSE.ventures. I hated how it looked before. I just kind of threw it together. I'm not great on the front end design. And after I did my wife's and I spent like a month on it, like I've got it much better. So I'm redoing that. That'll be out soon. And then, starting in August, you'll be able to download that for free. But anybody's got questions on that kind of thing, happy to help anytime. It's not this big, giant, like Rubik's Cube that everyone makes it out.
Yeah, absolutely. How about your socials? Where can they hit you on socials?
So those are MSE hacks. So Mary, Sam, Edgar, hacks, MSE hacks.
Awesome. Jarrod, thank you so much for your time today, brother. I appreciate you. Hey guys, as always, enjoy the journey. Take care. Thank you so much for sticking here until the very, very end. If you wouldn't mind just leaving a comment or subscribing or liking the podcast or wherever you downloaded this, maybe it was from YouTube, I would love for that. You take an extra couple seconds to give us some more love. Even though you have listened here to the very, very end, we appreciate that so much. Could you also go over to thestarspodcast.com if you found any of this really interesting and you wanted to dive in a little bit further, or go to our Discord, which is Rocinante Studios NFT. Enjoy the journey.